Hey, it's a brand new Village Vice, and we're talking Auburn football assistant coaches. All right. He is Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law. Thanks for being with us. We told you it wouldn't take as long until the next one. So
we're back.
Yeah.
We're back. They tried to count us out, but we're back. Let's go.
If I ask you the question, who is Auburn's most important, or who's the best? I don't like using the word best. So let me ask impactful offensive assistant coach. Who would you say?
It's always tricky when you have a head coach that's your play caller and kind of like the offensive identity is, the head coach.
Yeah.
I will go with Marcus Davis.
Okay.
Because of recruiting at the wide receiver position. We're bringing in talent at that position that we never have before. And production last year.
Okay.
I'll go with Marcus.
Well, I mean, recruiting and production, that's kind of the two biggest metrics, isn't it? That's pretty good criteria.
Especially when you compare it to like what the status quo is, I guess, at Auburn at those spots and at that position for the last decade. Is that fair? Like, I mean, I think he's outpacing, what Auburn typically has in those spots. So yeah. What about you?
Maybe the last couple of decades. I mean, look, we sleep on the 2018, 2017, like the 17, 18, 19 era of guys, Ryan Davis and
Anthony Schwartz.
And Anthony Schwartz.
Seth Williams. Yep.
Seth Williams. Those guys like Eli Stove.
Weirdly, Sal Cannella.
Yeah. Not volume, but he made some pretty big catches. I mean, So some of those guys have put up like top 10 career numbers at Auburn. And that was a time when, you had Chip Lindsey as the offensive coordinator for 17 and 18, and you threw the ball around a lot. By the way, how did Auburn lose 5 games in 2018? How is that possible? I looked at a metric the other day that had relatively, like we know Auburn has one of the toughest schedules every year.
Yeah.
In 2018, they had the 24th toughest schedule in the country.
I hadn't thought about the 2018 team in a minute.
I know.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
I know, but it's because they lost more than they should have lost. I mean, they got jobbed out of the LSU game and Joe Burrow. There's horrible PI penalties on that final drive.
Agreed.
But otherwise, anyway, point being, I think you can make an argument that wide receiver recruiting right now is at the level or better than it was early 2000s.
Let's play this game. You mentioned the 2018 team. Best receiver on that team.
Darius Slayton.
Darius Slayton.
We didn't even mention him in the initial rundown, but
and he's had kind of the best NFL career. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's go with Slayton for sure. If 2018 Darius Slayton was on this roster, is he
a wide receiver 2?
No, he wouldn't.
Yeah,
he would not.
He would too.
No, he wouldn't, Brad. There's no way.
Who would be name? Okay,
Eric Singleton, Cam Coleman for sure.
Well, see, I would put Cam above him, but I don't know that I'd put Eric above him yet.
I think that's a crazy take.
Okay,
I think that is an absurd take.
So you don't just kind of disagree. You wildly, vehemently disagree.
I think I'd put Malcolm Simmons ahead of him too.
Based on 1 year.
Just based on traits.
Because by the time you get to 18, Darius had a phenomenal 2017 season.
This isn't me saying Darius Slayton is bad.
I know.
This is not that. I just
hate
think
that we have
Auburn's
to put that out there. But
I know people are like, I can't believe you're hating on Darius Slayton. It's like, no, I like Darius Slayton.
Right.
And we'll always remember what he did at Purdue because that was just totally uncalled for. But he just went off in the Music City Bowl against Purdue. But I just think it says so much about what Auburn's doing at receiver now. Yeah. Is that Darius Slayton, who, what was the best receiver on that team in a receiving group that was probably the best Auburn receiving group in a hot minute. And all of a sudden it's like, he's just a dude if he's on the team now.
Yeah. I don't know though. I'm going to stick with, I think I don't think he'd be any worse than third. 2018 Darius Slayton.
I agree that
no worse than third.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how you would make the argument for him to be worse. Well, I think
you
Malcolm,
did.
Worse than fourth.
Yeah.
I was thinking like 3 guys better than him.
Right.
And I do think I think you can make the case for Malcolm.
So if you put Seth on that team, would you consider him the best receiver on the 2018 team? Would you put Seth in that spot?
I mean,
These are important questions.
That's tough. That's tough.
But
I still think if Seth Williams is on this year's roster,
yeah,
I think he's the 4th best receiver on the roster.
That's wild. That's wild. And you know what? If I'm in the minority and most people agree with that, then what does that say? I mean, it illustrates the point that Marcus Davis is doing a phenomenal job with this group in both recruiting and productivity. There's no question. No question. It's not, I mean, that it got better. The talent level got better. The production got better from year 1 to year 2. It's not even a question. So
I don't think people get how good Eric Singleton is.
You're probably right.
He's so good.
Is he the Miles Kelly of the Auburn football team?
Wow. There's a lot of parallels there.
Right.
Georgia Tech was successful, but kind of the only guy there.
Yeah. Potent, productive.
We're reaching a little bit there.
Volume.
Dynamic, explosive in different ways. Thankfully, Singleton has more years of eligibility than Miles. Wish Miles had more. Wish we had Miles for longer. But sure. I think there's some comparisons there.
If Janai Broome, and he's the best player in college basketball, so you're not hating on anybody say he's the best player on the Auburn team. Is Miles Kelly the 2nd best player on the team? That's a fun conversation, by the way. Wow. If you keep it in the box of not hating on anybody else, is he the most impactful player for this season besides Janai?
Dang, I don't like that question.
Because you don't win.
My gut says no, but I'm trying to make sure I actually believe that.
His defense, his rebounding.
I think Denver is more important.
Okay. And impactful.
Miles.
Yeah. Okay. Chad Baker.
I think Chad is more impactful.
Tahad?
No.
Okay.
And I love Tahad, but once again, I hate that we have to clarify this. I think Tahad is great.
You can't rank them. It's just throw them all in a pool. Throw them all in a pool and let it.
I think I would go Janai, Chad, Denver, Miles.
Okay.
I think that would be my order.
Todd 5 or somebody else 5?
I think Chaney would be 5. Yeah, I think Chaney would be 5.
You know, some of those metrics have Dylan Cardwell as the 7th most productive player in the country.
No. On defense, he's incredible. He's the 5th best player defensively. It's insane. Man.
He caught the ball better against A&M and scored close to the basket too. Finish.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan will have these stretches where it's oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And then he'll have stretches where it's there is a difference between him and Janai.
Isn't that a diabolical question? Who's the 2nd most important player on Auburn's team? That is a diabolical question.
Yeah, and is it different? Is impactful and best a different conversation?
Right.
Because I think it is.
I think so too. That's very nuanced.
I would almost say Chad is more impactful.
Yeah.
Than Janai because you have Chaney and Dylan.
Okay. Okay.
You don't really have another Chad.
Chad plays a more versatile role game in and game out.
Yeah, and it's with Miles and Denver, their roles cross over to some extent.
Yep.
Especially defensively.
Denver is the point guard is going to get impact points for being the point guard. That's always going to matter. It's like being the quarterback. It's going to matter.
Right. This team's so good.
They're really good. Yes,
they're so fun.
Yeah, they really are. They really are.
Right.
That's why we're not freaking out about a loss to Texas A&M, by the way. Can we get to that in just a minute? I hate to break it up and go out of order or whatever, but we're going to get to that.
Whatever you want to do.
Just a little bit. Would you please talk about Roback before I talk a little bit about women's hoops?
I would love to. Roback.com, RHOBACK.com. Guys, they're launching new patterns and new polos and new swag all the time over at Roback.com. Our favorite is the performance hoodies. They've also got I've got a bunch of collared shirts. I've been wearing a quarter zip over the last few days as well. So highly recommend you check out Rowback. All of their stuff very versatile, very comfortable, and very cost effective. When you use promo code VICE20 at checkout, you'll save 20% off your order. When you go to checkout, they will have a site-wide promo there. You need to remove it and then type in VICE20, VICE20, VICE20 to get 20% off your order. It'll give you a better deal, and it helps support us, which we are so thankful for. Can I tell you something that I think might be related to this?
Okay.
I went to pick up my children from school yesterday.
Okay.
And which I don't do often. My wife normally does it, but I did it yesterday.
Good.
And I pick up the oldest, and there was another dad kind of waiting outside the room next to us or whatever. And I was talking to my kiddo, make sure she had everything. We're leaving. And the guy that was standing out there is like, hey, you're welcome, by the way. And he's like pointing to himself. And I'm like, yeah. And I like kept going. I'm like, what was that? What in the world was he talking about? And the only thing I can think of is that he was wearing Rowback and pointing to it. I don't know if he was wearing Rowback or not, but that's the only thing I can make. I've been thinking about it nonstop. I hope he's watching. Comment if you are, because like I hope that's what it is. But I was just like, yeah, you're welcome. And I walked away. I'm like, I didn't know what was going on there. So I've been thinking about that nonstop.
Yeah. He went to rowback.com, put in that promo code.
I hope that's what it is, Brad, because that's the only thing that I can make sense of it. Like, why else would he do that? Why?
Yeah, because if not, that's somebody you got to watch out for. You can't be on the same side of the street.
That's another situation for that guy to point to his chest.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of turned away. It's not like he was showing me like I feel like if it was that, he would have like turned his body where it's like, I have a Rowback logo on. So it may not have been that.
So why else would he have been doing this and said, you're welcome?
Yeah, I don't know.
You haven't gotten a heart transplant. Of course, he couldn't pull that off either if he donated a heart.
Yeah. Hey, you're welcome, by the way. Yeah. No hey or anything.
You're welcome.
I mean, hey, love the show. I get that all the time, right? Hey. Or hey, you and Brad are funny. You and Brad are great together. Whatever. That's the common one. Hey, you're welcome. I don't know what that means, dude.
Did you maybe... Because here's the only time I could think that I would just randomly say you're welcome to somebody and do it with a little bit of an aggressive tone.
It did feel aggressive.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was meant to be that or what, but it did feel a little aggressive.
It sounded a little aggressive. Did you maybe pass in front of him at a crosswalk and not do the customary thank you? And then like he gets out and be like, hey, you're welcome. You're welcome.
That'd be wild if that was the case.
Because that's the only time I think it's acceptable. If somebody crosses at a crosswalk in front of you and does not acknowledge your existence, it's appropriate for you to roll down your window and simply say to them, you're welcome. That's it.
You haven't done that before.
I haven't, but it would be, let me tell you something. It would be okay. If there's
you don't have to acknowledge somebody.
Yes,
hey, thank you for following the law.
No, you do.
It's understood.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't take any effort to look at the car and go, thank you. Just wave. You don't have to say thank you. I do it, but not everybody has to do that.
I do it. I mean, I do the nod or whatever. Yeah. Like, sure, I do that more times than not. But when people don't do it to me, I'm not offended. It's like,
it sends me through the roof.
It's like when you get a driver's license and like you take or I guess it's more of the permit. It's like, that's disgust is you stop at a crosswalk. That's the law. You don't have to thank me for doing the law.
That's such a bad. I've never for all the times that you get frustrated and aghast at some of the things that I say. This is the most aghast I've ever been at anything you've said.
Okay. And I just want to be clear. It's like, I don't have anything against like thanking them. Like I said, I do it. But when people don't give me the nod or the slight wave when they're walking in front of me, no impact on my life whatsoever.
Gosh, it's the worst. I'm not talking about at a red light. At a red light, it's different. I'm talking about middle of the road crosswalk. Okay. So it's not, I get a walk sign.
I think this is an important detail. Crosswalk. Yeah. They're not jaywalking. They're crossing at the correct spot. Okay.
But it's in the middle. It's not at an intersection. It's middle of a road. Okay.
Got it.
Because if I'm stopped at a red light, that whatever.
You're stopped there anyway.
I'm stopped there anyway. But if I've got to, even if it's the law, if I've got to stop my car so you can cross, just acknowledge. That's all. Just a little.
Okay.
That's it. That's it.
All right. Okay.
I think most people are with me on this. Again,
maybe I just don't think about it that much. I don't. And once again, it's not that I'm not. I think 98% of the time I probably wave. Sure, I don't really think about it that much, but I do that. I do that when we're walking around the neighborhood.
Yeah,
it's just
you're
when
a decent
people don't.
Human being.
Yeah, but just when people don't wave at me, I don't think that they're not a decent human being.
I do, 100%. I judge so hard. Oh my gosh, I judge, and I become a member of the automotive harassment squad if, like, I might say some things about you and your family if you don't stop and acknowledge the person who just stopped driving their 1.5 tons of steel so that you could walk across the road.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
I love it. I think that's great. I'm gonna start thinking about that a ton now, for sure.
Quick little acknowledgement.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. I forgot. Oh,
should Deuce not be able to wear 2? I think you should.
No. Oh, Zach. No. And it's not a close discussion. It's not even. No.
Why not?
No. Because Cam Newton wore number 2 and no one else should wear number 2.
Then we need to retire it.
Whatever. That's not the question. That wasn't the question you asked. The question you asked was, should he be able to wear number 2? Cam won a Heisman and a national championship.
Is it just Heisman? Or is there another situation where we would say, hey, nobody else can wear this?
We retired Terry Beasley's number 2, and he didn't win a Heisman nor a national championship. Okay. So, but he was the greatest receiver Auburn has had in its history. So, it's not just that, but he did both. He's the only player
then let's retire it. Then we got to retire it then.
I agree.
I'm with you if it's like, I feel like we've waited too long now.
Yeah.
At this point, we can't. To me, this is just dishonest. If we're going to give the guy graphics to post and he's wearing number 2 and all of his photo shoots at Auburn or recruiting visits, he's wearing number 2. And then it's like, but you can't actually wear this. I think that's crappy.
Haven't we put people in 34 jerseys for their pictures, though, in the past?
Have we? I genuinely don't know.
So.
I genuinely don't. I would let us know in the comments if you know who took pictures in a 34 jersey.
Yeah. But not.
Also, I guess my counter to that, though, would be 34 is retired.
Yeah.
So they know that.
Yeah.
They know they can't actually wear it. That would be my counter.
I hear you. If the question is, should we retire the number 2? Yes. And it probably should have been done before now.
I agree. I think we should retire 2, but it's not.
But if the question is, should he wear 2? No, he shouldn't.
Cam did the whole big thing where he was, he's got to earn it or whatever. Yep. And I put this out on socials, and it was probably about 50-50 folks saying like, yeah, let him wear it. And others like, hey, let him earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see any like he shouldn't wear it at all. Didn't see any of those.
Okay. Was that an option
it was an open-ended question. It was an open-ended question. I was like, I think it was like, what are your thoughts on Deuce wearing 9, not 2 or whatever? But
I say no based on the unspoken, like I'm assuming in my mind it is a retired number now.
Yeah, which is fine, but we need to retire it. That's not an unspoken thing.
If we asked Cam and Cam said, no, I don't want it retired, I can't imagine that happen. But
no. well, that's where I was going, Brad. On his show a few months ago, when Deuce was like, flipped or maybe signed or whatever, he was asked about it, and he was kind of calling him out. He's like,
oh, he was
nobody needs to wear number 2. He needs to earn it first or whatever. And to me, like, I think the whole earning it thing makes it a worse look. So like, let's say he goes out there and maybe he plays more than we think he's going to, whatever. He looks good. Maybe Jackson, I don't know of a situation that doesn't involve injury, or maybe Jackson underperforms and he gets pulled, whatever. Oh my gosh. 5-yard touchdown pass, Jackson Arnold back in the end zone.
Jackson drops back. He looks. He fires. It's caught. Milkshake for Jackson.
And so, like, if Deuce looks great, and then it's like, okay, did he do enough to get the number 2? What a, like, crummy situation. What a crummy situation for Deuce.
Why?
Where it's like, if he comes back out and he's wearing number 9, or even more awkward, he does come out wearing 2, and it's like, oh, he did good enough. He did good enough to earn. Well, I just think it's weird. I just think it's a strange situation.
This is so easy. This is cut and dry. This is black and white. 2 things for number 2. You want to wear number 2? You got to do 2 things: win a Heisman and a national championship. You do that, you wear number 2.
Yeah,
because that's what the last guy did.
Sure.
So, like,
I just think we should retire. I just think we should retire. That's all.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I completely agree with that, and I'm a little surprised that.
But it's the whole parameter of the conversation, though. It's not retired, Brad. That's the detail that's lacking in all of this.
Unofficially retired. It's not officially retired.
What does that even mean?
Well, nobody's worn it since 2010, so it is kind of unofficial. It is, even if it isn't. You know, like, it's not. This isn't a new thing. It's not that we've been letting guys wear it. Nobody in 2011 wore it. Nobody in 2012. Like, this isn't new. So
I love that Aaron Savage also wore 2 that year. I love that.
Yeah. He can say, I was the last to wear number 2. And he's not wrong.
That's right. Do we want to talk about Johnny Harris getting fired, or do we want to talk about not freaking out? I don't think we have time for both.
No, probably not. We can talk about not freaking out tomorrow, I think.
Okay.
And I don't know that I don't know that we need a lot of time. Johnny was always, really excellent to work with, and had some bad luck with injury. I mean, Talia Scott could have scored 20 a game in SEC play. And with her and Dong and Gaston all healthy and here and available, like, it could have been a whole lot better.
Yeah,
but
it could have, for sure.
But it wasn't. And so she's going to land on her feet. And there's no question she's going to land on her feet and do well. And we'll see. This is a very interesting time, I think, for Auburn women's basketball, because what kind of commitment do you want to make to the program? Very interested to see. John Cohen clearly had a plan for this to have happened so fast. He clearly has a plan.
I think so too. I think the timing shows that. So we'll see, and we'll talk about it as we get more info on that. Brad Law, I think that does it for today's Village Vice.
It does. If you are not subscribed yet to the Barn Auburn YouTube channel, just click the button. Click the button, and then you'll know exactly when a new Village Vice is ready for you. We appreciate that. Remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.